Hello, it's Romanosky from Calgary, Canada. I'm shooting from the lug nuts facility here. We always have some neat cars that are in for servicing or that we're buying and selling. In this video, what we have in the background here is a lovely BMW Z8 2002, 25,000 kilometer Canadian car, and it is going up on the Bring a Trailer auction platform shortly. So this is a narrated video, as is my custom. I make these quite long and in depth, and I start with a little bit about the history of the Z8. I mean, there's better sources of information than me, but we'll give a little bit of a background on the Z8, and then we'll talk about this particular car and its history. We'll do a walk around video of the exterior and the interior. We'll get the paint meter out. We'll measure the paint depth on all of the panels. We'll put the car on the hoist to take the wheels off and show you what it looks like underneath the car. We cleaned up all the suspension and under trays and so forth, so you can get a really good look at it. So we'll do that, and then we'll do a cold start and a sort of a basic non-Top Gear, just a basic video showing you the car operates correctly. There's no warning lights, etc. Okay, so we'll start off by talking a little bit about the Z8 and about this particular car, and go from there. The video is broken into sections, so you can, if all you care about is what the underneath looks like or the paint meter reports, you can skip right to that. Otherwise, try to hang on for the end, and I hope this video is there's a few things that are perhaps new for you. Please go to the Bring a Trailer website and bid on the car if you're looking for what is undoubtedly one of the modern collectibles. Okay, so I'll turn this camera around and we'll start going through the car. Okay, a brief history of the Z8. I won't make this too long, but I guess that all has to go back to Max Hoffman, the importer extraordinaire in New York in the late 40s and early 50s, who's responsible for the creation of many of the iconic cars we have today, including the Mercedes Gullwing and 300 SL Roadster, the Porsche Speedster, and another car that he was instrumental in getting was the BMW 507, and he found the designer, who was an American, Gortz, to design that car. It wasn't a commercial success for BMW. They didn't make that many, and it was kind of at odds with what the other cars they were making at the time. But stylistically, it was just a real triumph. So fast forward to the late or to the 90s, and we have Henrik Fisker, who is working at BMW as part of their motorsport division, and he gets the job to reinterpret a BMW 507 in the modern age, and comes up with the BMW Z8. Then Fisker leaves for Ford, and at least rolls into Ford when Ian Callum's working on the DB9, and actually has an influence on the DB9 Vantage and DBS as well. Now he's, of course, making EVs. Okay, so that's where we get to. It's a limited edition car. It's always an expensive car. It's one of the very few aluminum cars that are around. Honda pioneered that with the NSX in 1990. And by, I think, 2000, we had the Ferrari 360, we had an Audi A8, and I don't think I'm missing anything. I think that's probably it for aluminum cars. So that was, only in limited production runs, very expensive to make a car where the chassis is all aluminum. And so that is the basis for this chassis, not shared with anything else. It's bespoke, and then they took the 5-liter 4.9 liter engine from the M5, 400 horsepower, drop that in, a manual gearbox or rear-wheel drive, and a fairly basic mechanical package, but front, mid-engine, 400 horsepower, V8, rear-wheel drive. Okay, 6-speed manual gearbox. Production, they made 5,700 of them total. over that period, both Z8 and Z8 Alpinas. They just made just about all of them in silver. Like, out of the 5,700, I think sort of 3/4 of them were silver, and then the balance were red, black. This one's Topaz, and they had some, they had some other sort of individual colors as well. The market for Z8s is very picky about color and mileage. I mean, many collector cars are influenced by color, but in a Z8, it makes a really big difference. One of the rare colors can be twice as much as the silver, just because they made fewer of them, and that seems to be the way you differentiate a Z8. Other than mileage and condition and so on. And it's kind of interesting because it's, in the collector car world, you're always looking to sort of get a pecking order and, differentiate the cars, even if there's not much difference between them, find some difference between them, and that becomes then the pecking order of value. Like a Ford GT, for instance, there weren't that many colors, and I think there was only 4 options, but, the Golf livery one is the one that is the rarest and that everybody wants, and it commands a really big premium over the regular one. But it's not the same with everything. I mean, 75% of the Ferraris are red, but if you show up with a blue one, it doesn't mean it's worth twice as much. Or a green one, it might even be less. Any of these cars, like a Gullwing or a 300 SL Roadster, can be any period color. It doesn't seem to affect the value too much. But the BMWs are different. Like for the Z8 market, people want one of the rarer colors. So this is Topaz, and they made, I think, 321 of the 5,700 were in Topaz, and there were only 6 colors or something like that. Okay, so it's rare to find a blue one, and I guess I'll put a hypothesis there for what it's worth, which might be nothing, but just to put it out there. I sold Mercedes in that era, and just about every car was silver. Silver or black, but mostly silver. And it wasn't always that way. If you ordered a Mercedes in the 80s, well, there was green ones and brown ones and white ones and black ones and silver ones and all kinds of colors, lots of beige ones or whatever. There's people ordered the cars from the dealer, and they just picked whatever cars they wanted. So there's black ones with red interiors and green ones with green interiors and silver and blue, all kinds of different colors, and nobody seemed to care. There was a wide variety. Well, then they started making a lot more cars, and the cars were the dealers were getting a lot more cars that were unsold, so they had to order for stock. Well, in the 80s, they didn't really order for stock. They were mostly all custom ordered cars. So now, with the German manufacturers, they ramped up production, and when they ramped up production, the dealers were forced to order these cars for inventory, and because they wanted to play it safe, they just ordered the colors that they knew, and so then every car was silver or black, and every Jag or Bentley was green, and the dealers never wanted to take a chance, and so you only found cars that had black interiors. Well, at least in Calgary. Obviously in hotter climates it was a bit different. But so then the German cars all became kind of ubiquitous. Like they all looked the same. They were all the same colors. And I was with Porsche for 10 years, and it was the same thing. All Porsches had to be black or gray. You order a green Porsche or blue Porsche, and everybody kind of went bananas. And then I think people realized that because all the cars were the same, they started wanting cars that were a different color. And then all of a sudden, things like paint to sample at Porsche, where nobody cared before, and nobody's going to pay extra for a funny color. Well, all of a sudden now these were coveted spots, and the request for paint to samples, dwarfed the capacity, and everybody was lining up to get a paint to sample car. I remember getting a GT3 allocation. I think we got 8 cars, and they were asking us, well, how many paint to sample cars do you want? I said, well, 8. I want all of them paint to sample. I want all the different maritime blues and Riviera blues and great greens. I wanted all kinds of paint to sample. And I said, well, you're asking for 8, we'll give you 1 paint to sample. That's it. And so everybody now, or maybe in the last sort of 5-6 years, is now craving something that is a little bit individual and a little bit different. And that I think may have something to do with the market for Z8s, which has really been healthy lately. The car's going up maybe 50% or more in the last 5 years, and especially the unique ones. Okay, so I think that partially explains it, and the same reason that people pay twice as much for a, Riviera Blue 911 GT3 because it's rare is the same reason that people put a big premium on a Z8 if it isn't silver. Okay, so enough about that. Let's talk about this particular car. It was bought. It was bought, traded in, sat at a dealer. My client then saw it on the dealer showroom in 2008. So he's had it since then. He lives in Medicine Hat. There's no BMW dealer in Medicine Hat. And he owned a big landscaping company that built golf courses and so on, and had lots of equipment that he maintained. So it was very easy for him to do his own servicing on the car, which was basically just oil changes. Okay. So the car is just over 25,000 kilometers on it. And then when I got it, I thought, well, it hasn't seen a dealer in a while. So we took it to Calgary BMW and just got them to do all the major service and change the plugs and change all the fluids and stuff, just so it had that stamp from the dealer. And it came back with a clean bill of health. And we also, to get it ready for sale, the tires were Michelin Pilot Sports, but they had lots of tread, but they were 7 or 8 years old. So we bought new tires. We couldn't get the Pilot Sport 4S's because they were out of production. And we had limited choice on tires for the car, and we wound up with a Pilot Sport all season. So we got those tires for it. There was a couple really quite minor chips in the windshield, and so we bought a new windshield for the car. We had the under tray. I don't know, I think somebody was sloppy when they were replacing it and cracked it at a couple of the mounting points over the fasteners. And so we just, we replaced that piece. And then the major one was it came in with the taillights not working properly. And I'll show you that, maybe I'll show you that over here. So this is the taillight from the Z8. This came out of the car, and if you look in there, you can see 2 neon tubes. The Z8 was unique in that it had neon headlights. I think it was only the second car ever made to have neon tubes for headlights. They were supposed to last the life of the car, but they didn't. Probably half of the Z8s, the neon fails. And this unit cannot be rebuilt with neon. Some companies are out there replacing them with LEDs and getting them to work, but in this car what we had is on one side we had the upper tube working, and on the other side we had the lower tube working. And it took us a while to figure that out, but basically both units were faulty and had to be replaced. And we didn't have to be replaced. They just, instead of 2, they still worked, but instead of 2 bulbs going off, only 1 did. And they were like $4,000 each Canadian. It was extremely expensive. This is the under tray that came off the car, and it's fine. It's fine, but somebody over tightened it, I think, and it just put some stress cracks in there. And I plaster welded it up. But it looked a little bit scuffy. Anyway, so we just bought a new one of those. It was like $1,100. And then the head unit just went, and that's another known problem. The head unit just quits, and that was $4,000. So by the time we were done, we had a service for about $2,000. We had the windshield for about $3,000. We had tires for around 2,000. We had the 2 lights and the head unit. That bill came to $15,000. So I don't know what it all adds up to, but over 20,000 Canadian dollars in just basic reconditioning on this car. But we did everything right, and literally we could have left any of this stuff and the car would have looked the same. But we, you know, who knows how much longer those lights are going to be available, and how much longer the windshield's going to be easy to get, and so on. So we just decided to spend the money on the car and bring it right up to get the servicing fully up to date, and any item in it that was questionable, we then took care of. Okay, so the car lives in Medicine Hat from 08 till present, and like I said, I got the car a few months ago, and we've just been working away at it, and now it's ready to be sold on Bring a Trailer. Okay, so let's get the paint meter out, and we'll just go through the body panels. All right, here is the gauge that doesn't lie. It's calibrated in micrometers. That's 1/1000th of a millimeter. So factory paint depth is, usually around 200, something around there, 200 micrometers. And we can go around this car and check it. Now, the paint doesn't, sometimes you get a rogue reading. The paint doesn't lay perfectly flat on the curves. It's a little bit thicker in some places than others. Aluminum cars, have a little bit thicker primer usually. It's a hand-built car, so you do get a little bit of variation. If it was a repaint, you'd be looking usually in the 3, 4s, and 5s, if it's got any filler in it, you're then kind of looking at over a millimeter. So you're looking for reasonably consistent paint depths, which this car has. And sometimes you do get a rogue reading just because the machine's not sitting square on the panel. This is a little bit boring, but not for the person who is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. You want to make sure that if the car is represented as original paint, that you don't get surprised when you pick it up. All right, let's do the roof. Oh, the roof's composite, I guess, so it doesn't come up. Okay, so that out of the way. Let's take a look at the engine bay and the interior. So let's have a look around the engine bay. We've got 4.9 liter, I think it's 4.9 and not 5, a 400 horsepower engine. That was state of the art in the early 2000s. Ferrari 360 had 400 horsepower. The Porsche 996 twin turbo had 400 horsepower. There weren't a lot of cars out there with more than 400 horsepower. We've got in the engine bay, we've got some stickers. And there we have the Topaz blue. We have an EPA catalytic converter. Let's see if I can get that for you here. Sticker on the suspension upright. All the photographs in the image gallery. We have the VIN of the car again, ending in 334. Also on this car, they have little VIN stickers on each of the panels, and so we can see the passenger fender and the bonnet, and we can see the driver's fender, the VIN of the cars in the windshield there, and then conveniently under the door you've got another VIN sticker there on the driver's door, and another one, let's see where that is, on the passenger door. Okay, so original paint, and we've got the VIN stamps on all of the relevant panels, and we also have a clean Carfax and no accidents as well. Okay, so that should go some way to giving people confidence that they're getting an original car with original paint and no bodywork. Okay. So in the interior of the car is original. It has not been touched up, re-dyed. The leather hasn't been painted. It's got, you know, a tiny little bit of patina. The odd, no, it's not a mark at all. The odd little bit of patina that the natural leather, you know, you'd expect that to have and you would want. I mean, I could make it look better in a photograph by getting some spray paint and spraying the leather, but that really isn't what you want because it destroys the feel and the smell. I just have this black mat in here just so I don't get these dirty, but they're new floor mats in the car. All these areas are leather, and so they're kind of vulnerable, especially in cream. And you can see, you know, there's a tiny little mark there. You know, the sill plate has got, you know, very, very minor scuffing. Might as well show you the VIN tags. This car was built, it's gonna give me a date. What is their date? September of '01 it was constructed. Okay, so the center console, we don't have any marks on the gear selector, and that painted, you know, the painted console isn't scratched up, and we don't have any wear on the center console. The dash is nice, the leather hasn't shrunk, and the painted surfaces remain nice. Steering wheel is free from any scratches and so on. So interior is original, well cared for, no faults, no faults worth of any significance. And we can look at the other side as well. The sill plate has a bit less scuffing, and the seat has a bit less wear because it doesn't look like anybody's ever really sat on that seat. We have the accessory cup holder. Okay, so all the weather stripping and everything is good. Nothing's been cut, marked up. There's just nothing of any significance in there. Interior is beautiful, especially for the light cream. Of course, it will mark up. Okay, so I don't know what more I can show you in there. It's all pretty much perfect. So in the trunk, the carpet is all in nice shape. The battery is a brand new Bosch battery. We have these attachments for the lifting pads. Okay. The tool roll is here. It lives down there, and we've got the full complement of tools, the gloves, and we've got this little attachment for the locking wheel lug. Okay, so that'll get put back together. Then we have the wind deflector, which is in that bag. And we have the tonneau cover, which is in this bag, okay? And they look like they haven't been used. All right. Then in this box right there, that is a hardtop hoist that goes with the car but won't fit in the car. And then we've got this hardtop stand. That does disassemble and will fit in the car. Okay, so what comes with this car, if you want it, are the original under tray, and you may decide to put that back on as a sacrificial piece and just keep the new one on the shelf, or just throw it out. You don't have to take it if you don't want to. And we've got the original taillights, which don't work, which again probably aren't any value to you, but you can take them if you want to. And we have the all the original equipment that comes with the car. Also, we have a fancy book that was done when the car was in production, and shows actually a picture of this exact car on the factory assembly line. We have invoices for all of the work. Those are in the image gallery, and that was done mostly all the service work was done at the BMW dealer. So I don't know what more I can tell you. There aren't any exterior flaws. There's no door dings, there's no scratches. You can see pictures of the underneath of the spoiler and so on. If we look down the side of the car, there's nothing there. It's perfect. Okay. You know, sometimes with aluminum hoods and stuff, you can get little dents in them for people pressing too hard, and they don't exist. There's no bumper scrapes or scuffs. Again, the windshield's brand new. There's no door dings, no damage to the car, no scrapes at all, actually. Okay, so it's basically, you know, well, as close to perfect as you could reasonably expect. Spoiler's in good shape. The grills, lights. There's no chips. There's no broken glass, there's no cracked headlights, and it's got $8,000 worth of new tail lights in it. No chrome is pitted, all the rubber is supple, and you can tell that it's just as you'd expect. It just had a charmed life. Tires are new, and there was a tiny mark on one of them from somebody who put a tire on, not us. Let's look at that. Well, I can't even really find it, but oh yeah, there. So there is this mark on the rim. Otherwise, all the rims are perfect. We cleaned the, well, I guess this has that too. We cleaned the inside of the rims. I got all the old tape off from wheel weights from when they had other tires on them. And we cryoballisted blasted the underside of the car. We cleaned up everything. It looks beautiful underneath as well, as you can see in the photographs, okay? Okay, so let's do a video of the undercarriage of the Z8. Okay, so we'll just take this opportunity when it's on the hoist here. Okay, so underneath the car, well, we see the front spoiler. It is a little bit vulnerable, but in this case, it is in good shape and there's no chunks or scrapes out of it. If you get really picky, you know, you can see, you know, a little bit of wear on the lower edge, but you can't even see that when it's in the air, hardly, let alone when it's 5 inches off the ground. Okay, so the front bumper looks good, and there's no damage to any of the lights or the grille, and it's has too few miles on it and has been looked after too well to have any fading of glass or oxidation of any of the rubber or yellowing of the light lenses, etc. Okay, so underneath the car, we do have this weather or this splash shield. It does have a couple of plasta welding repairs to it, okay? But then we have purchased brand new one. So the next owner of the car can elect to leave that piece there as a sacrificial piece, or we can install the brand new one too. So new owner's choice on that. We did cryoblast the car, and it didn't need much, but you know, you can see there's just no dirt or oil or grease or most importantly, damage on any of these components. So it's an aluminum car with aluminum suspension. So if the car got, if a Z8 ever gets curbed, you know, you'll have a difficult time get everything back to spec, you know, with these gorgeous aluminum A-arms and the aluminum frame and stuff. So this car, nothing like that's ever happened to this car, and nothing's ever been apart with the suspension, and that's all the factory pieces, and there's no damage. So with an aluminum car, that is an important consideration, because of course aluminum doesn't have a memory like steel, and once it's bent, you know, you can't fix it, okay? Not properly. Okay, so we'll look in again, and again, it's spotless in there, inside of the wheels, the brake disc, the aluminum frame, the aluminum suspension arms, etc. Okay. As well, that goes for the sills and for the floor pans. There's no damage at all on the underside of the car, and the you know, the exhaust isn't rusty. Not that you'd expect it to be. We can see the gearbox, and there's no leaks from the gearbox in the car, and there's no, you know, there's no corrosion on any of the fasteners. Not that you'd expect there to be on a car with this mileage that's only been summer driven, but still, you know, it does happen if the car is left outside and driven in the rain. Okay, so we can go to the back corners now, and again, we can see that all these fasteners just look brand new. All these suspension components still have their original CAD plating and so on them, and there's no dirt or grease or leaks, and no corrosion. Pardon me. You can see the differential, which is finned for cooling. The drain plug there, I don't believe that's ever been off. And again, no leaks from the brakes, no cracking of the brake hoses. Still see the yellow marks from the factory, and all the original CAD plating on the different components. Yellow paint dots, again, from the factory. So underneath the car is unremarkable. That's a good thing. Okay, so now we'll just do a quick video of starting the car up. Dale here will focus on the exhaust when it fires up. We'll open the hood, make sure there's no strange noises in the engine. Go for a quick drive. Just demonstrate that the clutch and synchro mesh and so forth work properly. No vibrations or strange noises from the car, which there aren't because I've driven it already, but just for the purposes of this video, to give you that peace of mind. Okay, so we'll fire the car up. I mean, as you'd expect with a car with only 25,000 kilometers on it, there's no issues. It's smooth, and no strange noises from the ancillaries. These engines, I've heard them at the racetrack, they can be tappety, especially when they come in after a really hot drive, and this one isn't. So no real surprises under there, but let you hear it anyway. we've got the engine temperature. Focus on that is cold, handbrake on. We have 25,308 kilometers. Shame we have the hard top on because it's a nice day. Okay, so ventilation works. And see, AC works. This is cold air. Turn it down, and there we go. So there's no clutch judder. There's no vibration from the wheels. Well, maybe we'll let the semi have the right of way. A little bit of temperature in the engine. You might expect, it's a properly fast car. Shifts nicely. Don't want to give it too many revs here. The water temperature is, you know, fine, but it takes a little bit longer to get the oil up to temperature. Feels nice. You know, it's probably more of a grand tourer than an out-and-out sports car, but it's definitely something you can drive every day. Suspension's compliant, and engine's tractable, and so on. And so it's unfussy. It's easy to drive. The clutch is linear. The gearbox is positive. You know, there's nothing tricky about driving the car at all. And it, you know, comfortable enough to certainly just drive it every day and enjoy the car. Not every high-performance sports car is like that. It still gives you, you know, with a manual gearbox and free revving V8 and so on, and just the experience of this, you know, kind of classic two-seat rear drive configuration. You know, it feels special. But again, it's got and the car has a trunk in it, which is usable, and so, you know, it's a reasonably practical two-seat sports car that's certainly fast enough and has all the right gives all the right messages. Certainly, you can still get into trouble with it. Beautiful machine. You can see why it's so collectible. All right, so that ends the driving video. The car drives beautifully. There's no warning lights that come on in the dash. You know, we went through the car, spent over 20,000 Canadian dollars freshening it up with new windshield, tires, head unit, tail lights, and other, you know, full service and so forth. It has no cosmetic flaws that are noteworthy at all. no door dings or scratches. It's all got the original finishes on it. The leather has never been painted and so on. So it's a nice original car that's been fully serviced. The Z8 weak points, which are the head unit and tail lights, have been addressed, and it's ready for its new custodian. Okay, well, thanks for making it to the finish of this somewhat long-winded video. I know it's not Top Gear, but I just, for the person who wants to buy the car, it's likely, you know, at an online auction, it's likely sight unseen. They may not want to fly into Calgary and inspect it, and so then I think that the effort is warranted to, you know, go through every square inch of the car, provide all the records, put it up on the hoist, take the wheels off, take the under trays off, like just totally go through every square inch of the car, use the paint meter just to give prospective buyers confidence that the car is the real thing and a collector grade. So thank you very much for viewing. Lromanosky from Calgary, Canada. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you're in the market for a Z8, please consider this one and bid with abandon on Bring a Trailer. Thank you very much.